Namaste. Okay, here you go. John chapter 9. As Yah-Usha passed along, he saw a man blind from birth. His Talmidim asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, to cause him to be born blind? Yah-Usha answered, his blindness is due neither to his sin nor to that of his parents. It happened so that God's power might be seen at work in him. As long as it is day, we must keep doing the work of the one who sent me. The night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. Having said this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, put the mud on the man's eyes, and said to him, Go, wash off in the pool of Shiloach. The name means sent. So he went and washed and came away seeing. His neighbors and those who previously had seen him begging said, Isn't this the man who used to sit and beg? Some said, Yes, he's the one, while others said, No, but he looks like him. However, he himself said, I am the one. How were your eyes opened? They asked him. He answered, The man called Yah-Usha made mud, put it on my eyes, and told me, Go to Shiloach and wash. So I went, and as soon as I had washed, I could see. They said to him, Where is he? And he replied, I don't know. They took the man who had been blind to the Perushim. Now the day on which Yah-Usha had made the mud and opened his eyes was Shabbat. So the Perushim asked him again how he had become able to see. And he told them, He put mud on my eyes. Then I washed, and now I can see. At this, some of the Perushim said, This man is not from God, because he does not keep Shabbat. But others said, How could a man who is a sinner do miracles like these? And there was a split among them. So once more they spoke to the blind man. Since you are the one whose eyes he opened, what do you say about him? He replied, He's a prophet. The Judeans, however, were unwilling to believe that he had formerly been blind, but now could see, until they had summoned the man's parents. They asked them, Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How is it that now he can see? His parents answered, We know that this is our son, and that he was born blind. But how it is that he can see now, we don't know, nor do we know who opened his eyes. Ask him. He's old enough. He can't speak for himself. The parents said this because they were afraid of the Judeans, for the Judeans had already agreed that anyone who acknowledged Yah-Usha as the Messiah would be banned from the synagogue. This is why his parents said, He's old enough, ask him. So a second time, they called the man who had been blind, and they said to him, Swear to God that you will tell the truth. We know that this man is a sinner. He answered, Whether he's a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I do know, I was blind, now I see. And so they said to him, What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? I already told you, he answered, and you didn't listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Maybe you too want to become his Talmidim? Then they railed at him. You may be his Talmid, they said, but we are Talmidim of Moshe. We know that God has spoken to Moshe, but as for this fellow, we don't know where he's from. "What a strange thing," the man answered, "that you don't know where he's from, considering that he opened my eyes. We know that God doesn't listen to sinners, but if anyone fears God and does his will, God does listen to him. In all history, no one has ever heard of someone opening the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he couldn't do a thing." "Why, you mamzer," they retorted. "Are you lecturing us?" And they threw him out. Yah-Usha heard that they had thrown the man out. He found him and said, "Do you trust in the Son of Man?" "Sir," he answered, "tell me who he is, so that I can trust in him." Yah-Usha said to him, "You have seen him. In fact, he's the one speaking with you now." "Lord, I trust," he said, and he kneeled down in front of him. Yah-Usha said, "It is to judge that I came into this world, so that those who do not see might see, and those who do see might become blind." Some of the Bereshim nearby heard this and said to him, "So we are blind too, are we?" Yah-Usha answered them, "If you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But since you still say, 'We see,' your guilt remains." Sorry. Or maybe one more chapter. John chapter 10. "Yes, indeed, I tell you, the person who doesn't enter the sheep pen through the door, but climbs in some other way, is a thief and a robber. But the one who goes in through the gate is the sheep's own shepherd. This is the one the gatekeeper admits, and the sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep, each one by name, and leads them out. After taking out all that are his own, he goes on ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they recognize his voice. They never follow a stranger, but will run away from him, because strangers' voices are unfamiliar to them." Yah-Usha used this indirect manner of speaking with them, but they didn't understand what he was talking to them about. So Yah-Usha said to them again, "Yes, indeed, I tell you that I am the gate for the sheep. All those who have come before me have been thieves and robbers, but the sheep didn't listen to them. I am the gate. If someone enters through me, he will be safe and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes only in order to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come so that they may have life in its fullest measure. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The higher hand, since he isn't a shepherd, and the sheep aren't his own, sees the wolf coming, abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf drags them off and scatters them. The hired worker behaves like this because that's all he is, a hired worker. So it doesn't matter to him what happens to the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I lay down my life on behalf of the sheep. Also I have other sheep which are not from this pen. I need to bring them, and they will hear my voice, and there will be one flock, one shepherd. This is why the Father loves me, because I lay down my life, in order to take it up again. No one takes it away from me. On the contrary, I lay it down of my own free will. I have the power to lay it down, and I have the power to take it up again. This is what my Father commanded me to do." Again, there was a split among the Judeans because of what he said. Many of them said, "He has a demon," and "His Meshuggah, why do you listen to him?" Others said, "These are not the deeds of a man who is demonized. How can a demon open blind people's eyes?" Then came Hanukkah in Yerushalayim. It was winter, and Yah-Usha was walking around inside the temple area in Shlomo's colonnade. So the Judeans surrounded him and said to him, "How much longer are you going to keep us in suspense? If you are the Messiah, tell us publicly." Yah-Usha answered them, "I have already told you, and you don't trust me. The works I do in my Father's name testify on my behalf, but the reason you don't trust is that you are not included among my sheep. My sheep listen to my voice. I recognize them, they follow me, and I give them eternal life. They will absolutely never be destroyed, and no one will snatch them from my hands. My Father, who gave them to me, is greater than all, and no one can snatch them from the Father's hands. I and the Father are one." Once again, the Judeans picked up rocks in order to stone him. Yah-Usha answered them, "You have seen me do many good deeds that reflect the Father's power. For which one of these deeds are you stoning me?" The Judeans replied, "We are not stoning you for any good deed, but for blasphemy, because you, who are only a man, are making yourself out to be God." Yah-Usha answered them, "Isn't it written in your Torah, 'I have said, you people are Elohim'?" If he called Elohim the people to whom the word of Elohim was addressed, and the Tanakh cannot be broken, then are you telling the one whom the Father set apart as holy and sent into the world, you're committing blasphemy just because I said, 'I am a son of Elohim'? If I am not doing deeds that reflect my Father's power, don't trust me. But if I am, then, even if you don't trust me, trust the deeds, so that you may understand once and for all that the Father is united with me, and I am united with the Father." One more time they tried to arrest him, but he slipped out of their hands. He ran off again beyond the Yarden, where Yochanan had been immersing at first, and stayed there. Many people came to him and said, Yochanan performed no miracles, but everything Yochanan said about this man was true, and many people there put their trust in him. Okay, depending on how many more verses are there. Okay, this is too many. So now I'm gonna switch to Genesis. I mean, I could do one more. This is kind of fun. Alright, I'll do one more. I'm gonna set that John chapter 11. There was a man who had fallen sick. His name was Eleazar, and he came from Beit Anya, the village where Miriam and her sister Martha lived. This Miriam, whose brother Eleazar had become sick, is the one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sister sent a message to Yah-Usha, "Lord, the man you love is sick." On hearing it, he said, "This sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that the Son of God may receive glory through it." Yah-Usha loved Martha and her sister Eleazar. So when he heard he was sick, first he stayed where he was 2 more days. Then after this, he said to the Talmidim, "Let's go back to Yehuda." The Talmidim replied, "Rabbi, just a short while ago the Judeans were out to stone you, and you want to go back there?" Yah-Usha answered, "Aren't there 12 hours of daylight? If a person walks during daylight, he doesn't stumble, because he sees the light of this world. But if a person walks at night, he does stumble, because he has no light with him." Yah-Usha said these things, and afterwards he said to the Talmidim, "Our friend Eleazar has gone to sleep, but I am going in order to wake him up." The Talmidim said to him, "Lord, if he has gone to sleep, he'll get better." Now Yah-Usha had used the phrase to speak about Eleazar's death, but they thought he had been talking literally about sleep. So Yah-Usha told them in plain language, "Eleazar has died, and for your sakes I am glad that I wasn't there, so that you may come to trust. But let's go to him." Then Toma, the name means twin, said to his fellow Talmidim, "Yes, we should go so that we can die with him." On arrival, Yahusha found that Eleazar had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now, Beit Ania was about 2 miles from Yerushalayim, and many of the Judeans had come to Malta and Miriam in order to comfort them at the loss of their brother. So when Malta heard that Yahusha was coming, she went out to meet him, but Miriam continued sitting Shivea in the house. Shivea. Malta said to Yahusha, Lord, if you had been there, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Even now, I know that whatever you ask of God, God will give you. Yahusha said to her, your brother will rise again. Malta said, I know that he will rise again at the resurrection on the last day. Yahusha said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever puts his trust in me will live even if he dies, and everyone living and trusting in me will never die. Do you believe this? She said to him, Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world. After saying this, she went off and secretly called Miriam, her sister. The rabbi is here and is calling for you. When she heard this, she jumped up and went to him. Yahusha had not yet come into the village, but was still where Malta had met him. So when the Judeans who had been with Miriam in the house comforting her saw her get up quickly and go out, they followed her, thinking she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Miriam came to where Yahusha was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said to him, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Yahusha saw her crying, and also the Judeans who came with her crying, he was deeply moved and also troubled. He said, Where have you buried him? He said, Lord, come and see. Yahusha cried. So the Judeans there said, See how he loved him? But some of them said, He opened the blind man's eyes. Couldn't he have kept this one from dying? Yahusha, again deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying in front of the entrance. Yahusha said, Take the stone away. Malta, the sister of the dead man, said to Yahusha, By now his body must smell, for it has been 4 days since he died. Yahusha said to her, Didn't I tell you that if you keep trusting, you will see the glory of God? So they removed the stone. Yahusha looked upward and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I myself know that you always hear me, but I say this because of the crowd standing around, so that they may believe that you have sent me. Having said this, he shouted, Eleazar, come out. The man who had been dead came out, his hands and feet wrapped in strips of linen, and his face covered with a cloth. Yahusha said to them, Unwrap him and let him go. At this, many of the Judeans who had come to visit Miriam and had seen what Yahusha had done trusted in him. But some of them went off to the Bereshim and told them what he had done. So the head Kohanim and the Bereshim called a meeting of the Sanhedrin and said, What are we going to do? For this man is performing many miracles. If we let him keep going on this way, everyone will trust in him, and the Romans will come and destroy both the temple and the nation. But one of them, Caiaphas, who was Kohen Gadol, Kohen or Kohen? Kohen Gadol that year, said to them, You people don't know anything. You don't see that it's better for you if one man dies on behalf of the people so that the whole nation won't be destroyed. No, he didn't speak this way on his own initiative. Rather, since he was Kohen Gadol that year, he was prophesying that Yahusha was about to die on behalf of the nation, and not for the nation alone, but so that he might gather into one the scattered children of God. From that day on, they made plans to have him put to death. Therefore, Yahusha no longer walked around openly among the Judeans, but went away from there into the region near the desert, to a town called Ephraim, and stayed there with his Talmidim. The Judean festival of Pesach was near, and many people went up from the country to Yerushalayim to perform the purification ceremony prior to Pesach. They were looking for Yah-Usha, and as they stood in the temple courts, they said to each other, "What do you think? That he simply won't come to the festival?" Moreover, the head Kohanim and the Bereshim had given orders that anyone knowing Yah-Usha's whereabouts should inform them so that they could have him arrested. Okay, so I'm going to do at least 15 minutes of Old Testament now. So that's, let me just fix that here. This will be my break. So I'm going to start from chapter 12 tomorrow, if I get to it tomorrow. And now Genesis chapter 1. Let me see if I'm going to take like a 60-second break. Yeah, okay, thank you. 60-second break. Wait, I have to, okay, so I'm going to take a 2-minute break. So I have to make a thing that says I'm taking a break. Unless I could just do this. Okay, go. Okay, so since I've read like so much of the New Testament, I'm gonna read at least 15 minutes from now. It's 22 minutes and 30-second mark. So here we go. Genesis 1. Genesis chapter 1. Parasha 1. Bereshit. In the beginning. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was unformed and void. Darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God hovered over the surface of the water. Then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So there was evening, and there was morning, one day. God said, "Let there be a dome in the middle of the water. Let it divide the water from the water." God made the dome and divided the water under the dome from the water above the dome. That is how it was. And God called the dome sky. So there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered together into one place, and let dry land appear." And that is how it was. God called the dry land earth. The gathering together of the water he called seas. And God saw that it was good. God said, "Let the earth put forth grass, seed-producing plants, and fruit trees, each yielding its own kind of seed-bearing fruit on the earth." And that is how it was. The earth brought forth grass plants each yielding its own kind of seed, and trees each producing its own kind of seed bearing fruit, and God saw that it was good. So there was evening, and there was morning, a third day. God said, "Let there be lights in the dome of the sky to divide the day from the night. Let them be for signs, seasons, days, and years. And let them be for lights in the dome of the sky to give light to the earth." And that is how it was. God made the two great lights, the larger light to rule the day, and the smaller light to rule the night, and the stars. God put them in the dome of the sky to give light to the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. So there was evening and there was morning, a fourth day. God said, "Let the water swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open dome of the sky." God created the great sea creatures and every living thing that creeps, so that the water swarmed with all kinds of them, and there was every kind of winged bird. And God saw that it was good. Then God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the water of the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." So there was evening, and there was morning, a fifth day. God said, "Let the earth bring forth each kind of living creature, each kind of livestock, crawling animal and wild beast." And that is how it was. God made each kind of wild beast, each kind of livestock, and every kind of animal that crawls along the ground. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, in the likeness of ourselves, and let them rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the air, the animals, and over all the earth, and over every crawling creature that crawls on the earth." So God created humankind in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them. God said to them, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the air, and every living creature that crawls on the earth." Then God said, "Here, throughout the whole earth, I am giving you as food every seed-bearing plant and every tree with seed-bearing fruit, and to every wild animal, bird in the air, and creature crawling on the earth, in which there is a living soul. I am giving you as food every kind of green plant." And that is how it was. God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. So there was evening, and there was morning, a sixth day. Chapter 2. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, along with everything in them. On the seventh day God was finished with his work which he had made, so he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. God blessed the seventh day and separated it as holy, because on that day God rested from all his work which he had created, so that it itself could produce. Here is the history of the heavens and the earth when they were created. On the day when Yahweh, God, made earth and heaven, there was as yet no wild bush on the earth, and no wild plant had as yet sprung up, for Yahweh, God, had not caused it to rain on the earth, and there was no one to cultivate the ground. Rather, a mist went up from the earth, which watered the entire surface of the ground. Then Yahweh, God, formed a person from the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, so that he became a living being. Yahweh, God, planted a garden toward the east in Eden, and there he put the person whom he had formed. Out of the ground, Yahweh, God, caused to grow every tree pleasing in appearance and good for food, including the tree of life in the middle of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. A river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it divided into 4 streams. The name of the first is Pishon. It runs throughout the land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is good. Aromatic resin and onyx stone are also found there. The name of the second river is Gikon. It winds throughout the land of Cush. The name of the third river is Tigris. It is the one that flows toward the east of Ashur. The fourth river is the Euphrates. Yahweh, God, took the person and put him in the Garden of Eden to cultivate and care for it. Yahweh, God, gave the person this order. You may freely eat from every tree in the garden, except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You're not to eat from it, because on the day that you eat from it, it will become certain that you will die. Yahweh, God, said, It isn't good that the person should be alone. I will make for him a companion suitable for helping him. So from the ground, Yahweh, God, formed every wild animal and every bird that flies in the air, and he put them to the person to see what he will call them. Whatever the person would call each living creature, that was to be its name. So the person gave names to all the livestock, to the birds in the air, and to every wild animal. But for Adam, there was not found a companion suitable for helping him. Then God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the person. And while he was sleeping, he took one of his ribs. And while he was sleeping, he took one of his ribs and closed up the place from which he took it with flesh. The rib which Yahweh, God, had taken from the person, he made a woman person. And he brought her to the man person. The man person said, At last, this is bone from my bones and flesh from my flesh. She is to be called woman because she was taken out of man. This is why a man is to leave his father and mother and stick with his wife, and they are to be one flesh. They were both naked, the man and his wife, and they were not ashamed. Chapter 3. Alright, I'll do 122. Yeah, one more. Now the serpent was more crafty than any wild animal which Yahweh, God, had made. He said to the woman, Did God really say, You're not to eat from any tree in the garden? The woman answered the serpent, We may eat from the fruit of the trees of the garden, but about the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden, God said, You are neither to eat from it, nor touch it, or you will die. The serpent said to the woman, It is not true that you will surely die, because God knows that on the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it had a pleasing appearance, and that the tree was desirable for making one wise, she took some of its fruit and ate. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized that they were naked. So they sewed the fig trees together to make themselves loincloths. They heard the voice of Yahweh, God, walking in the garden at the time of the evening breeze. So the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh, God, among the trees in the garden. Yahweh, God, called to the man. Where are you? He answered, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, so I hid myself. He said, Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree from which I ordered you not to eat? The man replied, The woman you gave to be with me, she gave me fruit from the tree, and I ate. Yahweh, God, said to the woman, What is this you have done? The woman answered, The serpent tricked me, so I ate. Yahweh, God, said to the serpent, Because you have done this, you are cursed more than all livestock. Because you have done this, you are cursed more than all livestock and wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and eat dust as long as you live. I will put animosity between you and the woman, and between your descendant and her descendant. He will bruise your head, and you will bruise his heel. To the woman he said, I will greatly increase your pain in childbirth. You will bring forth children in pain. Your desire will be toward your husband, but he will rule over you. To Adam he said, because you listened to what your wife said and ate from the tree about which I gave you the order. Sorry, I want to do that again. Maybe I'm getting tired. Because you listened to what your wife said and ate from the tree about which I gave you the order, you're not to eat from it. The ground is cursed on your account. You will work hard to eat from it as long as you live. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat field plants. You will eat bread by the sweat of your forehead till you return to the ground, for you were taken out of it. You are dust, and you will return to dust. The man called his wife Hava, because she was the mother of all living. Yahweh, God, made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed them. Kinda wanna do one more. I'm gonna do one more. Chapter 4. The man had sexual relations with Hava, his wife. She conceived, gave birth to Cain, and said, I have acquired a man from Yahweh. In addition, she gave birth to his brother Hevel. Hevel kept sheep, while Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought an offering to Yahweh from the produce of the soil, and Hevel too brought from the firstborn of his sheep, including their fat. Yahweh accepted Hevel and his offering, but did not accept Cain and his offering. Cain was very angry, and his face fell. Yahweh said to Cain, Why are you angry? Why so downcast? If you are doing what is good, shouldn't you hold your head high? And if you don't do what is good, sin is crouching at the door. It wants you, but you can rule over it. Cain had words with Hevel his brother. Then one time, when they were in the field, Cain turned on Hevel his brother and killed him. Yahweh said to Cain, Where is Hevel, your brother? And he replied, I don't know. Am I my brother's guardian? He said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground. Now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood at your hands. When you farm the ground, it will no longer yield its strength to you. You will be a fugitive wandering the earth. Cain said to Yahweh, My punishment is greater than I can bear. You are banning me today from the land and from your presence. I will be a fugitive wandering the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. Yahweh answered him, Therefore, whoever kills Cain will receive vengeance sevenfold. And Yahweh put a sign on Cain, so that no one who found him would kill him. So Cain left the presence of Yahweh and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain had sexual relations with his wife. She conceived and gave birth to Hanok. Cain built a city and named the city after his son Hanok. To Hanok was born Irad. Irad fathered Makhuyael. Makhuyael fathered Matushael. Matushael fathered Lamech. Lamech took himself 2 wives. The name of the one was Ada, while the name of the other was Zillah. Ada gave birth to Yabal. He was the ancestor of those who live in tents and have cattle. His brother's name was Yubal, and he was the ancestor of all who play lyre and flute. Zillah gave birth to Tubal Cain, who forged all kinds of tools from brass and iron. The sister of Tubal Cain was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, listen to me. Wives of Lamech, hear what I say. I killed a man for wounding me, a young man who injured me. If Cain will be avenged sevenfold, then Lamech 77-fold. Adam again had sexual relations with his wife, and she gave birth to a son whom she named Shet. For God has granted me another seed in place of Havel, since Cain killed him. To Shet too was born a son whom he called Enosh. That is when people began to call on the name of Yahweh. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you. 넘어졌어요. ASMR next.